Hi. Today, I'm breaking down every web design project that I did during year one of full-time freelancing. So going from small, kind of chaotic projects to consistent, smooth running projects priced at $15K and above. And my goal is really just to provide you with both a realistic look into the ups and downs of early freelancing, as well as, I think, an exciting window into what's possible if you stick with it. And I know when I was starting out, I felt very in the dark on things like where designers were finding the good projects and what they were actually charging. Of course, no two freelancers ever start from the exact same place, so I never think that tons of direct comparison is super healthy, but I do think that having some real points of reference is very useful. So let's walk through my 9 projects from year one, and all of the systems I'll refer to in this video are linked below in case you're currently establishing your own ways of working. But either way, I think you'll get a lot of helpful info just from this video. So let's dive in. Project 1 was a web design and light rebrand that I did for a friend of a friend. So good old word of mouth in the wellness space. And side note, unlike in my project walkthrough videos, I'm not using specific client names since I am giving actual pricing information, so I want to respect client confidentiality. But if you want to view into the real clients I often work with, you can check out any of my project walkthrough videos. So overall, this was a great project. The client was really happy with the end product. However, I remember really struggling with boundary setting on this project and on a lot of early projects, specifically keeping the number of revisions within the scope and managing lots of small change requests. So if you're a freelancer and you're also kind of a people pleaser by nature, this might also be a challenge for you, but I promise it's something that you can improve over time. The next one was a website for a solopreneur in the kind of business coaching consulting space. And I got the project from a casual post that I did on my personal Instagram account. This was a project where I switched to pretty much exclusively working in Webflow. And once again, on this project, I really struggled with revision management and keeping the project on track. So it was really becoming clear that the issue was not the clients, it was that I needed better project management systems and tools. And the other, maybe bigger issue was that because I was slowly raising my prices, I had kind of a complex about needing to justify those prices with tons of hustling. And I really can't tell you how wrong this mentality is. You charge higher prices by being more of an expert and knowing that you can deliver strong, impactful work, not by saying yes to everything that the client asks you to do. The third project was a website for a small business getting started in financial services. So I did get a lot better with boundaries on this project. Yay. I started using an official feedback tracker, which is called a feedback tracker, but it's also sneakily a rounds of revision tracker. I did say yes to adding a bunch of brand assets to the scope of this project, which I realized is something I didn't really want to do in the future. So this is when I decided that if someone needed lots of brand assets other than a website, like presentations, business cards, social media, templates, etc., I would either subcontract that part of the project or just send it to another designer so that I could stay focused on my core offer, which is websites. Okay, this next project was exciting because A, it had a bigger scope, it involved some custom graphics and animations, and B, rather than being for an individual solopreneur or a brand new business, it was for a company that was already relatively established and making money. So this was the highest value project I had done up until this point, and it was also the most easygoing client. They really treated me like someone they trusted, and I think probably part of that was that I was just getting more confident, and people of course pick up on that. So the project went really smoothly, and I realized, wow, it's true that sometimes as you work with bigger budget clients, you often find that they are more easygoing and more likely to just treat you like a trusted professional who they know is going to do a good job. This next client accounted for projects 5, 6, and 7 because they kept having more pieces of work, which of course is an awesome thing to happen when you're a freelancer. They were in the logistics space, and I found this client through a Slack alumni community from a previous job that I had. I'm in a lot of Slack spaces, and I find these to be a great source for finding work. So with the later pieces of work I did for this client during year one, I felt ready to propose higher prices because I had learned a lot about their business, and I just knew how much impact more conversion-driven website pages would have for them. And I knew how much impact the work was having from our first few projects. So this, combined with the fact that they were another pretty established business, gave me the confidence to quote higher prices as the relationship went on. So we continued to work together on initiatives long after these early pieces of work. And this is something that can happen as you work with bigger clients and as you learn to be someone that's really reliable and easy to work with, is that you can have these ongoing partnerships. So some people like to turn those into retainer agreements where they just pay you like a fixed price each month, usually for a certain amount of hours. I didn't do that with this particular client, but definitely something that you can keep in mind. Next project was for a medical healthcare startup. I began this project when I was still in the middle of work for the logistics company. The source was word of mouth, again, friend of a friend. One thing I want to point out is that, as you can see, my pricing did not move in a perfectly straight line upward. I would say that that can be the general trend over time, but for me, it's not like I hit a certain level and then I would never take on smaller projects again. Partly, this is because as a freelancer, you can't guarantee that high budget projects are going to appear on a perfectly regular basis, at least not in my experience. And even if that was the case, often I come across organizations that I just find really interesting, and I want to make an effort to find a way to work together, even if their budget is a bit tighter. So that's obviously one of the perks of freelancing, is that you get to decide. So this project went smoothly. I honestly don't remember that many notable things about it, but I do remember that this was the project when I realized that I should always state my recommended design approach rather than just presenting multiple options like I usually do. So I remember saying to a friend, I get so bummed out when clients choose an option that wasn't what I was hoping for them to choose. And my friend was like, you can just tell people your recommended approach and they'll probably go with that, which turned out to be very true. So that was one takeaway from this project. So it was really nice that I happened to end year one with my biggest project yet. Obviously, it felt great to end the year on a high note, and this project definitely continued with the trend of higher value clients being more easygoing to work with. So this client ended up referring several more clients to me in the following year. So you can see how in the beginning I was really grasping for any project I could get, but momentum really does build up over time. And that's momentum with your confidence, with having smoother systems, your referral network. I would say about half of my projects in the following year of freelancing came from referrals from year one clients. And one tip I would add here is that you can just ask former clients if they know of anyone else looking for similar services to what you offer. Clients are busy, they are probably not thinking about you, so it just never hurts to reach out, say hi, remind them that you exist and are open for work. All right, a few things I want to point out before wrapping up. Number one, as you can tell, year one was kind of bumpy, not linear in terms of income. And even now, being quite a ways out from this first year, I still have ups and downs in earnings month over month. I would say less so, but ups and downs are kind of a part of the deal with freelancing unless you're only doing retainers. Number two, I really said yes to as many projects as possible. And I think that getting in project repetition is the most valuable thing early on. I really don't think there's anything that can replace that. Even the really hard projects that didn't turn out exactly as I hoped, I'm so glad that I did them. I just don't think there's certain lessons I could have learned without kind of going through it. In the beginning, I really pushed myself as much as I could, and I wouldn't want to go back and do it differently because of how much I learned. Number three, many of these pieces actually did not end up going in my portfolio, either because I realized it was an industry that I didn't want to seek out more work from in the future, or in a few cases, the client's final design preferences didn't align with a style that I wanted to be sought out for. And that's just something I had to learn to be okay with. So I hope that this has been helpful. And if you want a window into the behind the scenes processes on one of these projects, check out this next video.